BGK 24/7 Online Christian TV Network. Making what was once impossible, possible.
Hello and welcome to Real Talk Just for Women. My name is Prophetess Christine Bowen, and I am here to welcome you to a real, transparent show. A show that most churches and people don't want to discuss the topics that I am going to bring forth. But this is a vision that God has actually given me because it's time for us to be real, to have real talk, to discuss those topics that are hindering people from moving forward in ministry or hindering people from moving forward in their lives. So if you would just join me on today and I hope that something is really said to help you as we begin to really dig deep and go inside and uncover some wounds or maybe even step on a few toes just to make sure that we have people that can be encouraged and motivated and to be healed just off of being real and giving their testimony. And if you could, please, we would really appreciate you going in and downloading the BGK app. You can get it from any of your mobile device Play stores. And so if you could just download the BGK app, it would be wonderful. You can actually listen anytime. It's on your phones. And so you'll be able to pick it up and listen to us at any time. And I have a special guest on tonight. Her name is Prophetess Suzanne Brown, and she's here to discuss her new book, My Testimony. So let's bring in Prophetess Brown so she can really give us her testimony and tell us more about her book.
Mhm. Hello,
Thank you,
hello,
Prophetess.
prophetess.
How are
How are you?
you?
Oh, I'm
Oh,
I'm
I am
good. Thank
blessed.
you.
It is so good to see you.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on your show. It is. Thank you for
Yes,
having me
yes.
tonight.
So, your book, My Testimony, it is an
Yes.
awesome, awesome book.
Thank you. It took me some time to really get it out. It's been in the making for almost over 10 years. Well, but God gave
Wow.
me the release this year to just, do it correctly. I published it the first time myself, and I would just take it into the prisons and into the shelters where I would go and minister. But never did I
Hmm.
expect it to go this far. But God, I'm amazed at what He did. So yeah.
It's beautiful, and the cover is beautiful, but your testimony is real. People don't talk about these type of testimonies. They don't want to give these type of testimonies. And I just love how real your testimony is. You're really exposing what you've
Mhm.
gone through to help someone else.
Absolutely. When I started writing the book, I didn't intend on being a writer, but years ago, I believe it was like around 1997, the Lord began to just put in my spirit, you need to write this down. And I would always
Hmm.
journal, but never thinking that it would become a book. But it's not really your norm book. He said, I want you to write your testimony, write it just like I give it to you. And that's what it is. It's my life, exactly what happened, how it happened. And, I was amazed at it because when I started writing, it brought healing as well. Even though I had been
Yes.
healed and delivered in 1991, but as I started writing, God began to just do a work on me, and so I know those
Hmm.
that read it will be tremendously blessed. I mean, because it's my life and where I was then and where I am today. So I give God the glory
Yes,
for it.
I have. I tell you, I have been recommending this book, even in my
Amen.
ministry,
Mhm.
because people need to know that, yes, even though you may work in ministry, you could be a pastor, you can be a prophet, you
Mhm.
can be a leader. You have had to have come from somewhere.
Mhm.
Something took place in your life to where you had to
Yes.
make a change, where and the change didn't come in until you accepted the Lord Jesus Christ as your personal savior and allowed the Holy
Absolutely.
Spirit to actually come in and make that change within your heart.
Hmm.
And people need to hear and need to understand that there are real people that are in ministry, but they're there to want to see you be successful. And how do we even reach the people if we can't be real about our own testimonies?
Wow, that's powerful. You're right. So many people, I mean, you see them where we listen to them. God, I need something that I can feel, or, they want people to be real. And sometimes ministers or pastors, per se, they don't lead with their weakness. They try to cover up so much when people are hurting and dying. And I believe that if we begin to just share our lives with our congregation and those that God gives us to minister to, we will see their lives tremendously change. They want us to
Yes.
tell me something that can
Hmm.
deliver me.
Hmm.
Help me get out of the mess I'm in. Who would have
Hmm.
known me growing up the way I did would become a drug addict, would become strung out on crack cocaine, lost my mind, so to say. But yet I didn't
Hmm.
even see me becoming who I am today. Had no clue of who I was until I went through what I did. And now I'm here,
Yes.
ministering,
Yes.
preaching. Who would have known that? I didn't, but
None
God
of us
did.
know where we're going to, exactly. And none of us know where we're going to wind up until
Yes.
after our testimony, our journey. And I agree
Yes.
with you so wholeheartedly that we need to stop hiding behind who
Yes.
we are and really tell the story. And when I
Yes.
say hide behind who we are, we can get into the pulpit, we can go out and we can minister to other people, but we're a lot of times ministering from broken places. And we don't
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about our deliverance. And we don't even want to admit that some of us still need to have deliverance. And so
That's right.
this book touched me because there was a section that you talked about that your father was your hero. So many young girls today who don't have fathers really look for that hero. They look for that male figure. And you had that male figure in your life. But then I read
Absolutely.
also when it gets close to the end of your book that you exposed that that hero also had an addiction and it actually took his life. Can you expound on that?
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. Yes, my father was absolutely my hero. He took care of us. He guarded us. He protected us. He taught us how to protect ourselves. And growing up, we were a large family, and everybody knew the Bugs kids because my father was a hustler and a good one in the beginning, I should say. And he worked, and he had nice jobs that any child would be proud of their father, but he had a hustle. And so just growing up, I promise you, I had 7 brothers and I fought for all of them. And that's because my father taught us how to fight. But until my
Hmm.
brothers learned how to fight, I would take the fight up for them. So, but yeah, I was a tomboy. I was kind of that tom girl somewhere. But my brothers and I, we loved our father because he taught us, even though he wasn't saved, I promise you, he lived like he was. We had to be in the house when the street lights came on. We had
Hmm.
to respect our home. We couldn't say or do anything. And so, yeah, my father was that hero for me in my life. And even growing up, I can remember wanting a man like that in my life. And eventually, God put that man in my life, and I married him. But like you said, yes, my father had his struggle with demons and drug addiction. And at the end of his life, crack cocaine took his life. They
Hmm.
found him dead
Hmm.
in a crack house. But that
And
wasn't the end of my story. But yes.
right.
Mhm.
And that's where I'm going because so often inside the church,
Mhm.
we really don't take the time to see when someone is so broken. We
Oh,
can look like we have it together. You could have
mhm.
on the three-piece suit, you could have on the dress with the pearls, like I have on today, and
Mhm.
yet be so broken and tore up inside and dealing with strongholds, those strongholds that you can't seem to break, those things
Yes.
that you go before God and you pray about, and you say,
Mhm.
okay, God, I'm gonna go to the altar and I'm gonna give them to you, but yet we still pick it up and we can't seem to shake it. We can't seem to let this thing go. And
Mhm.
you grew up in a house where you had a mother, a father, siblings, but I remember
Mhm.
reading that you were also still very lonely.
Come on. Yes. There was a part of me that even I had 7 brothers and 3 sisters. My sisters and I weren't as close as I would say my brothers were, and I've felt alone. And I mean this, in a way that yes, my father was my hero, and I knew he loved me, but there is a part of me that my heart, I was like, God, who am I? He
Hmm.
really never validated me. Can I say that like that? Even though I knew he
Hmm.
loved me, but validation
Hmm.
is important. When
Hmm.
you struggle with demons, there's only so much you can give. There's only so much that I believe as a parent that they can give of themselves. So I found myself alone most of the time, lonely. And my brothers and sisters probably never knew that, but I felt so empty inside because I knew that there was something more to me. I just didn't know how to get
Hmm.
to it. And
Hmm.
yeah, my struggle during
Hmm.
my younger days was very lonely, very lonely.
Yes, yes. And so, prophetess, what would you tell a young girl today who feels like, yes, I'm a part of a family, but yet I feel isolated, or I feel
Mm,
like I don't fit in?
mhm. I would
You
tell
know,
her, yes.
what would you tell her to make her
Mhm.
love herself, to help her to
Mm,
find herself?
mm,
Because self-love is so important. And I
mhm,
know in today's, a lot of families today, we're working, both parents are working,
mhm,
the children are letting themselves in at the homes. They don't have
mhm.
someone they can talk to. What would you tell a young girl who feels as though, yes, she has family around her, but yet she too is lonely and she doesn't feel like she fit in?
My. I would tell her to just, I mean, this will seem so insignificant right now, but I would tell her to just hold on. I believe that God will put people around you. And I believe that God will give you the feeling, listen, I know there's something else within me. And I would tell her to just hold on. Of course, as a young girl, there's not much that I can just pinpoint in you. But I know if you just wait and pray, God, I'm at a loss for words. You caught me off guard on this one because I didn't have the answer for myself. I didn't know what to tell myself. I allowed other people. I'm gonna say this. I allowed other
Hmm.
people to dictate my life at an early age also. But I would tell her to look to your inner self. If there is a part of you that you know that there's something else in you, I would pray. And I would pray that God would put people around you that would help you. And if you're not too young, you're never too young to start praying. All you have to do is say a simple prayer. God, help me. Help me to stay. Help me to find out who I am. You're never too young to say that. I hope that makes sense to you. Because I was in a place that I didn't know what prayer was. I didn't even know who God was. But I used to sit in my father's car, I promise you. And I would say, God, if you would just send me somebody to love me. Didn't have a clue who God was. But that was my prayer at an early age. So I'm telling you, that little girl, that young girl, that teenager, just open up your mouth and say, God, if you would just send me someone that would love me, I promise you he'll hear you. He heard
Yes,
my cry.
yes.
It took a
Yes.
minute, but he heard this not even being a prophetess. Didn't know I was a prophetess. Didn't even have a clue of who I was. But God heard the cry of this young girl, and I'm where I am today because of the inner me. There's an inner you
Mm-hmm.
that cries out, even if you don't understand it. There is an inner you that's crying out, and I promise you, God is
Yes.
going to hear you. God is hearing you, if that makes
Yes.
sense. It
It
helped me.
makes
It did.
a whole lot of sense. It makes a whole lot of sense because most of us, I can honestly say that it took a while for me to find me
Mhm,
because
mhm,
of my situation in growing up, my testimony in growing up. I had love around me, but yet I did not feel the love. I still felt like there was something missing. There was something wrong with me, given how I grew up. My my biological mom giving me away while I was only 2 months old. And so when I found out about that, I felt like there was something wrong with me. Why couldn't someone love me? And
Come
so
on.
I asked that question because there's so many young girls out here right now that is looking for love in all the wrong places. You even stated that in your book. You're looking for
Yes.
love in all the wrong places, and we
Yes.
find ourselves in dangerous situations, and we find
Yes.
ourselves being led by people who say they love us, but yet there's hidden agendas. You had a
Mm.
situation where you fell in love and this person actually
Yeah.
deceived you. You lost your
Yes.
virginity, and then you
Yes.
find out that he's gay.
Yes. Wind
Can
up
I
marrying him. I
yes,
married
yes, you married him, and he still did not give you 100% of him. He led you
him.
on. There was some deception. There was a hidden agenda. There's things that he never allowed in, and yet
Mhm,
you felt like this is the one.
mhm.
And women today, young girls today, they're giving up their most precious gift. They're giving up themselves,
Mhm,
something that they'll never get back, because they're looking for love in all the wrong places.
mhm,
And I remember reading that, and my heart went out to you,
mhm.
being in high school, and and you were
Yes.
pretty stern. You weren't really thinking, like, no, we're not going to do this. But yet he talked you into it, so to speak. And then
Yes.
when you let your guard down and you got married, and then there it is, bam. How did you get through that? I know I read your book, but just that particular situation, how did you get through that?
It took a minute because it was a young man that I had grew up with. You have to read the book to get the whole story of it. But
Mm-hmm.
I had grew up with him. We moved to Grand Rapids when I was about
Mm-hmm.
13 or 14. But before then, in Chicago, we came from Chicago. My grandmother used to babysit him and I different occasions. And so I knew him as a young girl. So when I got grown and start hanging out and going back and forth because we visit Chicago like we never left. So I
Mm-hmm.
came in contact with him again, and so everybody was saying, "Oh, he's a nice young man now," and "Oh, he's a musician," and "Oh, everybody loved him." But then everybody also knew he was a homosexual, but me. Nobody would let that cat out of the bag. So, but anyway, I got into a relationship with him, looking for love again, trying to soothe that part of me that wanted the attention of a man. And so I
Mm-hmm.
allowed people to talk. And yeah, my aunt did my wedding, beautiful wedding. Stayed married for 10, I believe, 10 days. No, my brothers and them tease me right now today. I got married on Mother's Day. By the end of May, I was home. I think I stayed married for 3 weeks or something like that. Everything came out in 3 weeks. God just, I say it's God because I know it is today. He exposed everything. And so for me, that was very heartbreaking to realize that, man, I fell in love with this man and he's a homosexual. What are people going to say? And I'm back in a slump again. And so it just
Mm-hmm.
led me continually on a downward path going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so my life,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like a failure again, all over again, prophetess. And so nothing good came out of that until God opened my eyes at the end of my addiction. So yeah, that was
Yes.
that was a very hard place, I would say.
And that was powerful, though. That was another powerful part of your book, because
Yes.
it may not be someone who's a homosexual, but we happen to fall in love with someone who may be married. He never told us he was married. And
Come on.
and we go through the wedding ceremony, or we
Hmm.
get pregnant, because he says he's going to marry us, you know.
Hmm.
Just
Yes.
different situations can occur, and then you feel like your heart's been ripped out, and you go
Yes.
back into that same dark place. You go back to
Mhm.
that same dark place where you're trying to figure out what it is about you that you keep getting back into this same place. You
Mhm.
keep getting in contact or getting connected with these same people. And it's very
Mhm.
unfortunate, but you said something that's very powerful, that even today, as a pastor, when we counsel and things of that nature, how people don't tell people the truth.
Come on.
They do not be
That's true.
honest,
They
and
do.
they will let you just go
Mm.
ahead and walk off the
Mm.
cliff. It's
That's true.
okay,
Yeah.
but they will not
Right.
tell you the truth.
Come on. Mm-mm.
I don't
That's
understand it.
that's a part. I call that a part of dark days and destiny interrupted. I just feel like people
Mm-hmm.
don't. I think people have a tendency of telling what they want others to hear. And I think even now today that you don't see a lot of deliverance, you don't see a lot of people getting healed and set totally free because they're blindsided and they won't be honest with those that are really hurting and struggling. And as leaders, it's our job to see. I mean, it's our God given um, mandate to see that people are delivered. The Bible tells us that signs, miracle signs, and wonders will follow them that
Yes,
believe. You don't see any miracles, you don't see any signs. And the Bible also tells us to teach deliverance, teach
that's right.
healing. Do we do that? We don't. We're
That's right.
deliverance
That's
ministers.
right.
And people
Yes,
are sitting in church right now, even as we speak, wounded, hurt, and molestation, everything that you can
yes,
imagine, and they leave
yes.
out the same way they came in. No, I refuse to be that one. I refuse to be that leader, that person that will allow you to stay in the same shape you're in when you leave. No, I refuse to do
That's
that.
right.
And so I believe
That's right.
that's why God gives us a testimony. We
Mm-hmm.
overcome. We're overcomers. And
That's right.
so I would love to see that. That's my mandate.
That's and that's right. And I'm going to say this: when you have gone through what I have with molestation, or if a woman's been raped, and you're given that testimony, you give your life over to Christ. Yes, this is where your journey. This is part of your purpose. Okay, your
Mhm.
testimony helps you in the purpose of kingdom building, reaching people.
Mhm.
So what happens is we're able to actually see the spirit of rejection on a young woman. We're
Yes,
actually able to see the spirit of shame and doubt,
yes.
failure,
Hmm.
everything that we went through, and we went through those emotions and we went through those turmoils, so that when someone else comes into our ministry, we know how to show real love. We know how to be genuine. We can call that thing out for what it is
Yes.
and not be afraid to speak to it. And unfortunately, today, the reason a lot of churches can't speak to it is because they're still dealing with some of these same spirits themselves. So how can I talk to you about alcoholism when I'm dealing with alcoholism? I'm just hiding it. How can I talk to you about
Mhm.
opioid addictions because I leave
Mhm.
the church Sunday afternoon and I go straight home and start popping my pills? How can I
Yes,
talk
sir.
to you about sexual immorality when I'm sitting up here dating about 3 or 4 women in the church? We
Mm.
cannot heal, we cannot deliver, we cannot see miracle signs and wonders if we're not in position and we're not right. What is the state of our hearts? And
Mm.
our ministry is just like you know what you're saying.
Yes.
We are a healing and deliverance ministry.
Yes.
We follow
Yes.
the word of God because there are souls that are involved. And this is a
Yes.
passion for me because I went through so much as a young girl, and now I'm seeing so much out here with these young girls with sex
Yes.
trafficking, with
Mm.
prostitution,
Yes.
and they're lost. They're looking for love in all the wrong places. When you hear about sex
Yes.
trafficking, these young girls are actually getting phone calls, they're Snapchatting,
Mm.
and these
Yes.
people are telling them, oh, yes, I'm here for you. Oh, don't worry, I'll meet you over here. And so these are the things that we just need to be talking about today inside the
Mhm.
church. Real talk. We need to have real
Yes.
talk.
We
Well,
do.
Prophetess Suzanne Brown, I want to thank you for being a part of this show. I really want to have you to come back on, and you're such a blessing. I would tell anyone, and I have been recommending your book, My Testimony, The Day the Deliverer Showed Up by Prophetess Suzanne Brown. You can get it on Amazon.com, but please get
Mhm.
her book. I promise you, it will bless your life. Thank you, Prophetess.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for having me. And anytime I can share my testimony, it's only another hit upside the enemy's head. I tell everybody where I go, I wouldn't serve hell if it was no heaven, because it has no benefits at all. So I
Yes,
love
indeed.
God with all my heart. So thank you, prophetess.
Well, we love you. And listen, don't forget, download the BGK app. You can get it from any of your mobile Play stores. Download the app. It would truly bless you. And thank you for joining my show.